Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome inside the Lock Shop. Dusty back with you here on a Monday. I have to say, listening to the Lock Shop on Friday as I was driving down, listened to the Lock Shop, listened to the oil stream, listened to the Hangout. It was actually, it was nice. First time I got to sit in the car and drive for 3 hours and listen to our content, and it just comes across as super legit, which I do love. If you're watching right now, let's go. Tough week. I want to hear from people who just got destroyed in their survivor pool this week, right? You're sitting there. I was talking with somebody on Saturday. He's like, what should I do in my survivor pool? And he goes, yeah, I still got San Fran. I could go with San Fran. I was like, well, yeah, you're probably always good with San Fran. He goes, well, what about the Eagles? I was like, there's no way the Eagles are losing to the Jets. And then yada, yada, yada. I would think most of your survivor pools took a huge hit this weekend. So we'll get into that a little bit. Huss is going to pop by. Obviously, P. Greggy from CoolBet's going to be by a little bit later on as well. And, your messages. Let's go. You can text us, 780-218-9999. If you've got any fantasy football questions, we can certainly get into that as well. And we'll do that in the Fantasy Football 5 coming up in about 40 minutes' time. We will set up this Monday nighter. Chargers, Cowboys. I mean, where do we go on this one? I was happy to hit the ride with the Niners. From a betting perspective, the Niners, both the Niners and Eagles royally screwed me this weekend. My biggest ticket, and this is like a coward's play, but I had Niners, Eagles, Dolphins on a pretty big ticket. When the Niners missed, I was just like, okay, well, that's one game I'm going to be screwed on. Then the Eagles also hit. It's just disastrous weekend. But, we hit the ride with Dusty. That was a little three-gamer. What was that? That was Houston. That was Detroit. And there was a third team on that ride with Dusty. I can't remember who it was now. But anyway, we went 3 for 3 on that one and cashed that. So 780-218-9999, or you can hit us up in the nasty chat this morning as well. And we'll get to a few more of those. We will set up the Monday nighter, and right now the Dallas Cowboys are a two-point favorite on the road. You want to have faith in the Dallas Cowboys here, or are you just going to fade the Chargers basically in this game? We'll find out. But yeah, hit us up in nasty chat, and we'll get to a few of those comments as well. I think, are we having some Wi-Fi issues here? I know the stream's still going insanely smooth right now, but the Wi-Fi on my laptop sucks right now. Sucks the big one. But we'll get into some of your messages, and I won't complain about the Wi-Fi too much. But I will need to bring up CoolBet at some point. Luckily, I got my phone, and I connect to the LTE connection here, and we'll dive into that as well. From an Edmonton Oilers perspective, once again, how many of us bet Oilers maybe even -1.5 on Saturday in a classic bounce back spot? And they too let us down in a big way. Big way. That was a tough look. That was my main play on the Oilers game. Oilers -1.5. And did not look good. Never looked good from a -1.5 perspective. So that was frustrating. But now bounce back, easy chance to hammer -1.5 against the Nashville Predators, right? I feel like, and this is a bad look, this is a total chase spot that I'll find myself in. But, and you should not do this. I mean, stay cool, bet responsibly with CoolBet, but I'll be tempted to kind of just double what I put on the line on Saturday. Go -1.5 again. It's going to hit at some point, right? It's the whole roulette. You just keep doubling black and red. Just keep rolling. Get your money back in some way. That's me with the chase after a Sunday in the National Football League. A Sunday that obviously had a couple big upsets. I was happy to hit the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, not only did they win on the money line, they also covered as well, which was nice to see. They're a good football team, man. I am cheering for a good football team this season, which is something that I haven't really been able to say at this stage of the year in a long time. Dallas Cowboys minus 119 on the money line. The Chargers plus 110 on the money line tonight. Looks like, has that line officially moved to 1.5? Looks like it may have. The total in the game tonight's pretty much sitting at 50.5 right now. You can move it if you want one way or the other. Not going to change much, but yeah, that money line is pretty close. We'll get into the total. That'll be something I look at. Both of these teams can do good things offensively, but at the same time, that Dallas Cowboys defense always concerns you, I think. It concerns me. So when Huss pops by, we'll dive into that a little bit. And then Patty's going to join us a little bit later on. We'll kind of recap. But one thing I do want to know, I saw somebody from, I don't know, was it a casino down south? When the Niners missed that field goal, there was a lot of people were not happy. 41-yarder. Dean Faithful strokes through a 41-yarder. That was not pleasant if you had the Niners, whether it be in, if you had the Niners cover the spread, you were already screwed in that situation. But if you had them just on the money line in a parlay, that didn't help. The Buffalo Bills, huge favorites, didn't cover the spread. Lions covered. Eagles, pretty big favorites, did not cover the spread. Rams ended up covering. They won. Raiders, Patriots. The Raiders covered the spread. This is classic. This would have drove some people nuts. But the Raiders covered the spread on a safety. Mac Jones late in that game to cover it. They ended up winning by 4. The Texans win and cover. The Jags win and cover. The Dolphins were down 14 at some point. I was busy on the ice coaching hockey, but I was wondering what the number to live bet the Dolphins was when they were down 14. Not as much as it would be for anybody else down 14, plus it was against the Panthers. But I wonder what that number would end be, because that would have been a good one to hop on. The Browns plus 10.5 as a dog. Huss nailed it. There he is. Gets here just in time to take a victory lap on the Browns and Niners game. Hey, Huss?
Well, you know what? That was
muted, or
you want to know something funny too? I had actually picked
Huss,
Cleveland.
I think you're muted.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hello,
Nope.
hello.
Still can't hear you.
Come on.
You see that eye roll from us? That was classic. You sure it's not on our end, Matty? There's nothing else to play? He's unmuted now?
How about this? 1, 2, 1, 2.
On our end. Is he muted on the other end? Oh, there we go. Huss, what's up, dude?
We're good?
Yeah. Was it just me that couldn't hear him?
We couldn't hear him because that's something muted. Everyone else
but
could
they
hear.
could have heard you.
Sorry, Huss.
Sorry, Huss.
No problem. I'm like, it was I when that happened in Calgary last week,
Yes.
I assumed that was some remote thing, but I'm like, oh, we got a serious glitch. If it, yes, Cleveland, this, how I always say, never change your picks. Like when you're,
I know,
pools and stuff. I actually took Cleveland to win that game outright earlier this week. And obviously, I bet them. I thought it would be a close game. I believe in the Cleveland defense, and I thought that would be a tough spot for San Francisco to play in. But when I knew it was P.J. Walker, as much as an XFL guy I am, I thought, well, there's no way that they win this game. And I switched the pick, and God damn it, they actually ended up winning. Great performance, though. They came back from down 10-0. Huge win. What a graveyard for survivor pools yesterday.
Oh, man. I was just saying that off the top.
No, I guess in a lot of cases, probably teams like San Francisco and Philly had already been used. But that was a hell of a win for the Jets. And yeah, Cleveland is. As a much of a high as I was after the early games, heading into the late games, that Rams-Cardinals game just burned me. I needed that one for the ride with Haas. They're up at halftime. And the Rams, I know people probably didn't spend much time watching that game because there were better games on and it wasn't on a lot of TV, but they ran the ball all over the Cardinals in the second half. And now, listen, there was a few mistakes. That one got away. Still like the pick, but unfortunately it didn't come through. But yeah, the dog pound was rocking yesterday. Big win for Cleveland. And how about the Bills escaping last night?
Escaping big time. You're right.
You see Josh Allen after the game? He doesn't look right. He's just, I don't know whether he's emotionally exhausted. I don't know whether he's hurt, but he did not seem himself in the game at times last night, although he did make some big plays, but afterwards as well. That being said, in October, it's just about winning football games. They got the win.
He didn't look as bad as the Giants' clock management at the end of the first half.
Dude.
Like, you're in a spot where you're playing pretty well and you could possibly knock off the Buffalo Bills. If you just get the 3, just take the 3 there, and then it comes down to the end of the game. You don't need the touchdown. You just need 3 more. Like, it's such a bad look.
And you know what else is a bad look? Brian Daboll ripping. Like, okay, that happens at the end. You're walking into the tunnel with Tyrod Taylor. Do you have to dress him up and down on national television? Yeah. Can you not maybe wait? Like, I don't know how that plays with some of the players in the room. Listen, the Giants are somewhat of a lost cause, but I'll tell you what. I mean, as depleted as they were last night, they played their asses off, and that was a pretty impressive performance, one that they deserved a better fate. And I know everyone else that supports a different AFC team was hoping to see the Bills go down. But it does seem like the Dolphins really right now are the team to beat in that AFC East. And it was some interesting games. Big win for Cincinnati yesterday. They did cover. We had them on the partner parlay. Obviously, Gardner Minshew, our guy.
Tough when we're a Gardner Minshew show. Especially when I pick against the investment in Trevor Lawrence, too. That was a double-edged sword for me, man. That one sucked.
Listen, I just thought that one, it should have been a close game. But Gardner had 3 picks and a lost fumble. So, you turn the football over 4 times. You're not covering. You're not in the game. And that's what it was. But, yeah, overall, sort of a so-so week when it came to the picks. Although the ride with Dusty came through, nice work on that to get the fellas and get the peeps a win. And now we get ready for a little Monday Night Football tonight. And by the way, I've got a bunch of Charger fan friends that are absolutely incensed that the Chargers are playing tonight on Monday Night Football. The Chiefs played on Thursday, and then those 2 teams play next week. And frankly,
that's fair. That's
sometimes
fair.
Some of the schedule goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. But this is a huge game tonight for the Chargers and really for the Cowboys after the way they got smacked by the Niners last week. One of the more interesting Monday night matchups of the entire year.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one to set up for sure. Pat's going to join us around 11:30 Edmonton time, 12:30 Winnipeg time to get into that. If you're watching right now and you have any comments, you can hit us up in the nasty chat. Of course, you can text us anytime to 780-218-9999.
Hey, just before we kind of continue this football conversation, did I see a draft lottery simulator rolled out?
Eric ran that today.
This morning.
Well, they've already today at practice, and we're going to get into it in the Osterman noon, but they've blown up the lines and have put McDavid and Draisaitl together 2 games into the year, man. So, yeah, and Casey DeSmith played really well in that game Saturday night. So it's not like I didn't think they went through the motions like they did in the first game. But, yeah, it wasn't great. So we'll get into that. Tommy's down at practice, so he'll be here right away.
What was the I'm interested in just the mood of the nasties. What was the reaction after the 8-1 opening night thrashing?
Full-blown meltdown. Now, I did post the question last night just to kind of see where people are at. Like, what disappointed you more, getting spanked in the opener or losing when everybody kind of thought it would be a clear bounce back game, right? You bounce back. Okay, you know what? You lose the first game like that. You're going to bounce back. Home opener. Go get it done. Everything's going to be fine. And I think as of this morning, it was like 65-35 split. People were more disappointed that they didn't bounce back than that they actually got spanked in the first game. First game was a train wreck. It was got to be their worst game of the year. They're not going to lose 8-1 again, I wouldn't think. But then the fact that they couldn't bounce back and now they're mixing up the lines at practice, like it's – I know, to me, it's very panicky here in the early going for an 0-2 start. And I think we're going to break it down and we're going to criticize, obviously, here at Edmonton Sports Talk. But at the same time, the team shouldn't be panicking. Like the fan base panicking, get it. The media being critical, I get it. But the team, I think you got to show a bit of damn composure here, Huss.
Yeah, no doubt. And listen, they got the horses. I mean, they're still the favorite in the Pacific Division and arguably a cup favorite right now. Oh, one thing that we didn't talk about last week, just in all the craziness of me being in Calgary and you running around. Any lock shoppers in the chat? Jump on the. I was remembering that prop, and I don't know whether it was that you, if you got it put up, but would Jack Campbell start the opening game of the season?
That was us. We'll take credit for that.
That was like 2-1 or something.
Yeah, I got it at. I don't know if I got it at plus 182 or at plus over. Or let me see if I have it
like that. It was a nice plus money number.
Yeah,
and that was like a month or like weeks out, like basically the starting of camp.
Yeah.
So very shrewd bet by anyone that jumped on that one.
I'm sure there was a few guys that would have been on that one.
VR Montenegro cashed it. Nicely done.
He cashed it. That's good. That's good. I'm trying to see where that number was.
Richard Croft as well.
Oh, I cashed a nice Golden Bears bet too. They beat the Huskies again. I'm just going through the exclusives here. Now I'll find it later. But anyway, we cashed it. That was good, and it's a line that moved quite a bit too. It's like money came in on it, so it was that was a fun one. That was a fun one to put together, man. That was good. Hey, quickly on so the Jets. I'm not. This is not me throwing shade at Winnipeg because people know I love Winnipeg. I'll be in Winnipeg this weekend actually for that Bombers game,
and I'll be in Edmonton.
Yeah, and you'll be here for the Jets game. It's like why wasn't the whole Moper sold out, Huss? Like, try to bring me up to speed on this stuff. Like, why is there 2,000? Like, it's a great sports community. You guys will pack 30,000 into IG.
I'll say this. I mean, I was at the game. I saw that number, and it did not compute with what my eyes were telling me at the game.
Like good crowd, in your opinion, at the game? Like, yeah.
You know, listen, there has been an erosion of the season ticket base. And I mean, listen, a big part of it is just like real life stuff, man. Like, you know, tickets are expensive. We don't have the population base that most of the other markets do. But I also think that there was an element, and this goes back to a bigger conversation about, you know, keeping the team pretty stagnant, the same guys, the same things over and over again, disappointing last couple years with the way things went, but also just a mood around the team. Like, I don't want to say overall, like it wasn't like 2 years ago, I would have said it wasn't a very likable team. Last year under Bonus, they took some big steps forward, but then the same old thing happened. I mean, a complete collapse over the last couple months of the year. Team ended up with a lot of strife, and I don't want to say infighting, but I mean, we all remember Bonus losing his mind at the end of the season a number of times, and then the way the season ended at the end of the year. So I think there's some people that were maybe staying away, or whether if they had season tickets or whatever, that were not. For the first time in a long time, the organization has a lot of work to be done, and they're doing, I think, a really good job at a number of things that they haven't had to or haven't done before. You know, smaller packages, bringing people in. We've got a big crew of Winnipeg Sports Talk because our first game is tomorrow.
Yeah, that's one of your games.
Welcoming back PL Dubois, which should be a lot of fun. So, I mean, we sort of saw this at the end of last year, and I think to turn that around, it's going to take some time, some work, and most of all, a team that people can really get behind. That I think has been handled. Man, like it was funny when was it Jay Fresh put out? They ran the models, and it kept on throwing out the Jets winning the President's Trophy. We had a little fun on that. And then you look at, you know, all the analytics from the first week of the season, and the Jets are number one by a lot when it comes to it. They've played really, really well. This trade right now, and again, it's 2 games in. I mean, Iafallo, Velarde in particular, Kapari on the fourth line. I mean, like we'll see what Dubois does for the LA Kings, but I can tell you that everyone here is very, very happy with the return.
As you should be, man. That was an amazing deal. Like it just was.
And then I think there's the other element of the aftermath of the extensions. And Mark Scheifele looks like a different guy. Like Scheif wasn't in a good place the last couple of years. I didn't think there was much of a possibility of him even making it through this season, never mind staying beyond it. And I don't know what's happened in the offseason. I think part of it might be Blake Wheeler moving on and sort of a real new leader and leadership led by Adam Lowry. But Mark looks as energized as we've seen ever. Had the Gordie Howe hat trick on Saturday. Went at it with Kachuk, scored one, assisted one. So the team's in a good place, and hopefully the fans will follow. But hey, listen, it's just not the same as 2011 when, you know, they had the drive to 13,000. One of the biggest things, and again, we won't get too inside baseball with this, but the way the team came back with the way they distributed season tickets, the Jets only had like 18% of their season ticket base as corporate tickets, which is, I mean, so much smaller than every other market. That's just the way, because everyone was trying to get tickets and whoever got them got them. So now they've got to do a better job, or I know they've got to continue doing a job to kind of get within the business community, get a few more of them on board. Did some great renos to the arena. So, you know, it wasn't a great crowd to start it off. As I said, on paper, it certainly didn't seem that way in the building. There was a few pockets in the upper bowl of some empty seats. But I'll tell you what, if they keep playing the way they are right now, and I think you'll get a pretty inspired fan base coming out. And I definitely know the crowd tomorrow night is going to be ready to go and welcome back here Luc Dubois. I already can't wait to hear what the chants are for maybe someone sent an email today saying, you know what, maybe we should just cheer every time Dubois
because they made the deal. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you, PLD, for getting us these three guys. But yeah, certainly on the ice, it was a great start for the Jets. They really should have won that game in Calgary. Came back with a big one. And yeah, this week we got Vegas here tomorrow, or sorry, Vegas on Thursday, Kings tomorrow. And then I'll be out your way to see the fellas and see what the Jets can do going up against Doug McDavid and the Oil.
All right, quickly, before we bring in Pat, I do want to just get to the CFL. Bombers were on a bye week. As of right now, the futures are up with the Grey Cup winner. Argos are plus 115 favorites. Bombers plus 175. BC Lions at plus 450. Then it really falls off. After that, the Riders refuse to lock up a playoff spot. They've had a number of opportunities now, 0-6 in their last 6. I'm not sure Calgary necessarily wants that playoff spot either, Huss. Any takeaways from the weekend in the CFL?
Well, the Riders are brutal. That is my takeaway. They're getting worse as the weeks go on. That looks like a team that just wished that the season is over now.
I know.
Like, I don't think any team in the West is going to be much of a match for BC and BC Place in the West semi. But bigger picture for Saskatchewan, there's a lot of people, myself included, that thought they might do a bit of a house cleaning last year and get on with it. For whatever reason, they ran it back. I don't think that's going to fly again next year.
It seems like an automatic now, man. Like, I don't know how. Like, I was listening to the post game, driving from Calgary to Edmonton after the game, and man, people were ripping that team to shreds. Just to shreds. Couple of the comments. Somebody said, one text came in. It was just like, please leave Jake Dolegala in Calgary. Like, they didn't even want him to come back. It was, it was not good. I mean, I think they need a full house cleaning, man. It's just
that's my move. Jumping on the post game shows of teams that just got embarrassed and played themselves. There's nothing more fun.
Yeah. We had one guy texted in. No, he called in. The first guy who called in, he goes, I'm not going to say a lot of the things that other people are going to say tonight. I'm going to try to, make sense of it all. It starts all calm. And then like 2 seconds later, he goes, I was watching the game with a friend tonight who has a learning disability. And even he was saying, what the hell are they doing? And then he just lost it. It was the first caller. I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Well, speaking of post-game callers, I heard that call from Edmonton. The guy that wanted to trade Draisaitl.
Oh, yeah. Reed texted me about that on his show. Draisaitl and a first for Casey Smith.
Okay, listen. I just want to say, whoever is out there that did that call, I know that was not serious, but it was played so well. You didn't really know if the guy was being serious or not. Like, let's get some early season entertainment on the post-game shows around the league. That one was one of the best. They ended up having to hang up on the guy. and then did the like, was he serious? Could he be serious? But bring on. There's nothing better than the post game shows after games like that.
Oh, they're good. You should see our chat. You should have seen the chat here, like on Tommy's post game show after both of the losses, man. It was just like people just, it was so good. It was so good. All right, we're going to set up the Monday Nighter. We're going to get to a bunch of other things. We're going to get Pat's thoughts. You know what we haven't even talked about yet? The best team in the NFC, the Detroit Lions, improving to 5-1. Just cruising again. I mean, I'm sorry. They look really good, man. They look really good.
Well, and wasn't that the one that Pat was saying that 99% of the bets and money were on Detroit? And I said, I didn't actually bet on Tampa, but I said, well, this is just, I should almost do this on principle.
Yeah, that's right. You did say that when I was listening to them Friday.
They're the real deal. They're the real deal right now. And here's the thing. With the Eagles and the Niners losing yesterday, I'm going to have to dig in a little bit more, but I think you could make the argument that the Lions, with their schedule, may very well have the inside track on the number 1 seed in the NFC. Dusty, maybe this season will begin with the Chiefs and Lions and end with the Chiefs and Lions.
Oh,
Sign me up for that. Lock Shop Bowl in the Super Bowl.
I think the Chiefs got some work to get there, but we'll dive into that later on. Let's bring in Patty Gregoire, P. Greggy on Twitter and X. How you doing, man?
Just the fact that we are now discussing that the Lions are in the driver's seat for the first seed in the NFC, and Huss, your tinfoil hat might be on, but I think you might be onto something. I'm just looking at the schedule right now at Baltimore. I mean, that's a tough game.
3-point dog, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever team shows up for Baltimore, that's going to be a tough game. Also, we know the Lions are indoor cats. They play well on inside the dome, warm weather. How are they going to go? Baltimore, obviously not in the Northeast, but at this point of the year, going to be a little bit colder, but then host the Raiders, play at the Chargers, host the Bears, host the Packers, at the Saints, at the Bears, host the Broncos, host at the Vikings, at the Cowboys, at the Vikings. I don't see a lot of losses there, fellas. Of course, they're not going to run the table.
Mike Tenier was on our show this morning. He said they could go 14-3. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. But you're right, the schedule's weak.
Very weak. And then you look at the 49ers, it's at Vikings, host the Bengals, at Jags, host Bucks, at Seahawks, at Eagles, host Seahawks, at Cards, host Ravens, at Commanders, host Rams. Again, not the toughest schedule I've ever seen, but a lot more tougher games than what they have. And then the Eagles have a meat grinder.
The Eagles is crazy. It's crazy. Nuts. They've got the Dolphins, then they're at the Commanders, then they go home to the Cowboys, at the Chiefs, Bills, Niners, at Cowboys, and then it sort of lights out. So, I mean, and Philly hasn't looked that great this season, even when it's getting to 5-0, and obviously that loss is a bit yesterday. So I'm saying right now that the Lions have the best chance of the number 1 seed in the NFC right now. And that, listen, they are a complete team. We talk so much about, Goff's kind of coming back. They've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Montgomery's been great. Their defense has been absolutely phenomenal.
Jameson Williams is allowed to play football again. Had a huge touchdown catch yesterday.
Yeah, it was nice to see him get that one. But Pat, listen, just before we get anything, how's the Mafia feeling today after their near-death experience?
Well, depends which side you look at the Mafia, and it goes in waves. Last night it was, absolute panic. What's going on with this team? And then you go, well, you know what? A win's a win. It's totally fine. Look how well the defense played. Now expectations, coming back. Then they also realize, hey, look, the Eagles lost. The Chiefs just barely got by the Broncos. The 49ers lost. So I think there is some solace in the fact that some other good teams lost and some other good teams struggled. And at the end of the day, they won. The injuries is the big concern. Obviously, you saw with Damian Harris, that looked like it was a very serious injury. They're so banged up on the defense, but I think one thing you can hang your hat on is that the defense looked really good. I know it's the Giants, but they were missing 3 of their best 4 defensive players. Von Miller is obviously still coming back slowly but surely. But with that being said, when they go up against these top teams in the next few weeks, when they play the Chiefs, play the Bengals, or in the playoffs, because they're missing Milano, because they don't have Trey White, I think the offense is going to need to do a lot more. And the thing that's scary is Ken Dorsey's going back to kind of his ways of before, where we saw in the wins where they blew out really bad teams, or even the game against the Dolphins, they spread the ball around. Gabe Davis got more involved. The tight ends were involved. It wasn't just feed Diggs for 15 targets and hope he wins you the game. That's kind of what happened last night. I mean, it was enough to get the W, but against some good defenses, when they put Diggs and lock him up for, a good chunk of those possessions, other guys are going to need to step up. And I don't even really think that they gave an opportunity for anyone else besides maybe Gabe Davis to get up. You look at the target share, it was absolutely ridiculous. So defensively, really strong, stout performance. Bills Mafia should be happy about that. But I do think that this offense, it's so Jekyll and Hyde. It's either put up a 40 burger or look completely inept. And I think a lot has to do with the play calling of Ken Dorsey.
Josh Allen looked exhausted at the end of that game.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that interview. I mean, that's the guy that needed. It's too bad they didn't have a bye week this week. He looks like he could use a bye week about as much as anyone in the NFL.
Yeah, he really did. And I think you nailed it, saying the fact that, he looked exhausted, looked tired. It wasn't his best statistical game, but he came out and made big throws and big plays when he needed to. I felt like that game took a lot out of him. He was very frustrated, but in a lot of those frustrated Josh Allen moments, we see him try to do too much and mash all the buttons like in Madden and fumble the ball or force a throw. He did that once, but also that was a great defensive play. I'm not too sure on his one interception who it was, but it was a great tip by the linebacker, and they made a great play. So I think the fact that, yes, he looked really frustrated. He also went in for X-ray on his shoulder. Everything came back positive, so that's good. So I think he was banged up. I think he's really exhausted. You're right. I think this guy really needs a bye week. But you look at him and I'm not upset that he's not just happy with the win. I think he was really frustrated, and maybe that goes with what's going on with the offensive coordinator. Maybe there is a little bit of a disconnect here, and he feels that the offense should be run a different way, and they're not calling the right plays for him, or they're not using his other weapons. I don't know. Whatever it is, I definitely noticed the same thing. But at the end of the day, he said they got it done, and they need to figure things out, and hopefully they will.
Hey. Hush, you got more on that? Do you want more on the Bills, or you?
No. I'm good on the Bills.
I was just gonna ask, was it a good day for the book, like with the Niners and the Eagles? You guys must be pretty happy with yesterday, right?
Big time. That was a absolute parlay killer of a day, especially with a lot of those money, like big time tickets with a lot of money line favorites. Some teasers definitely got smoked, but I think a lot of, we talked about it. That 49ers game had a lot of risk on the 49ers, even with the big number, even with the line moving more and more and more. Eagles was another big one. It was a really good day for the book. And Huss, what did I say to you on Friday? Because we were talking about, whenever the public, if the public's heavy on someone, look out. It's probably
this year
going to be bad news, but the public has been winning, and it might be now the tides are turning. Maybe this is where water finds its level, but just 1 week, a Sunday night, even the Sunday nighter, we did have a pretty good risk on the Bills, despite even that being such a big number. Overall, really good week for the book.
Yeah, I mean, if you took the big underdogs this week, the Jets, the Browns, the Giants,
not the Panthers.
You took the big
not the Panthers.
Yeah, not the Panthers. Although when they started off 14-0, that would have been a good spot if you were on the Panthers to maybe jump on the other side and bail yourself out. One thing I just have to mention, I know we haven't really touched on the Commanders-Falcons game for obvious reasons. Did you guys see the pick that Desmond Ridder threw at the end of the game when they were like, honest to God, there's a picture on ESPN of Arthur Smith just sitting on the sidelines, holding his head like this, going back. It was like that. That's a team that actually has a lot going for them, but it's the perfect example of you can have so many other pieces. If you don't have the quarterback, you're not going anywhere. Now, Drake London did get some more balls, actually had some catches, got a bunch of yards.
Kyle Pitts, TD.
But holy smokes, was that a brutal pick that I think if he'd gained any confidence through having a little bit more in the air throughout that game, it completely evaporated at that point. But nice win for Washington in one of the more underheld games. And by Texans money line again. There we go. CJ Stroud. What a player.
Yeah, they were on the ride for Dusty. They ride with Dusty, man. CJ Stroud's the real deal, dude. Like, as long as he can stay healthy, the Texans are at least going to be competitive, right? Which compared to last year, like that's a major step in the right direction.
Well, and it's a good thing for them because to make that, that was a wild trade that they made to get the second and third overall picks. But like Carolina, if you have a terrible season, it compounds it because you have to watch the team that you traded your pick to get up to the podium in the first 2 or 3 picks. That doesn't seem like that's going to be the case with the Texans. They're going to be competitive all year long. The Panthers, however, Bears fans can take solace. You guys may stink, but there's a very good chance that you're going to have 2 of the first few picks in the draft. And this is a very good draft to have those picks in, both if you want to get a quarterback or just the value of those picks because of the quarterback class that's coming in for next year's draft.
Well, I don't know with the Bears, like it seems like it's every other day. They're okay. We're in on Fields. Okay. He's not the guy. I know he got hurt. So that hopefully for them, it's not a long-term injury. Cause I think at this point you have to see what you have, but Caleb will, like, if they get the number 1, number 2, how do you not go out and grab Caleb Williams with the number 1? Mind you, my Notre Dame Fighting Irish really took the boots to him and exposed him on the weekend. But you could also then go out and get Marvin Harrison Jr., the best receiver in this draft, one of the better touted prospects in receiver. Like you talk about all the receivers coming out of Ohio State over the past few years. This might be the best of all of them. So if you can go out and get those 2 guys, number 1, number 2, like, man, your offense has completely changed. And even like a team like the Broncos, like Drake May sitting there at number 3. Like, this is a very, very interesting draft. Mind you, we're not even close to being near draft season. Well, at least with our 3 teams this year, all of them in the hunt, hopefully battling for playoffs. We won't be looking up mock drafts, but I could tell you some bad teams, some fans, at least you have some solace knowing that there is some elite talent within this top 10, especially at the top 5.
Well, and if the Bears got those picks and said, listen, there's no way we can't not take Caleb Williams, I do wonder what the trade value of Justin Fields would be. Like, some other team will take a flyer on him. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I think it probably depends on how this thing ends, right? This season.
Yeah.
Like, what if Justin Fields, and he got hurt last game, but what if Justin Fields has an excellent second half of the season? Right? You're going to be able to get, you're going to get something
like
of
he
significance
did last
for him.
year. I mean, the thing is, are we talking fantasy or are we talking real? Because we were all horny on Fields going into this season because of what he was able to do. Well, they also lost 11 straight games. So, I mean, it's a team game. There wasn't a lot around him. I still think that Fields is going to turn into a pretty good NFL QB. Just the more that this season goes on, I'm not sure that ends up being in Chicago.
Well, speaking of fan bases that can maybe just punt on the season and worry about drafts, it's a team that really hasn't done it at all. And maybe this is a little bit of a ricochet shot at our friend JBM, but the New England Patriots, I mean, if I'm a Patriots fan, I am clamoring
tank
for
mode,
an all-out tank. Lose every game by $1 billion. It is evidently clear that They don't have a quarterback. They do not have a quarterback. And Mac Jones, it kind of seems like he doesn't really want to even be here at this point. I would tank. I would try my best to get a guy like Williams or May, or hey, maybe you open up talks with go out and get Fields. Like, I don't know if you want to sell the farm for a guy like Fields, but if you can take a chance on him, why not? Because that is a team. Clearly, they're not going anywhere. The defense doesn't even look good anymore. Like, they're in absolute shambles mode right now. I think you got to think tank for the Patriots.
Well, it's 0-6 for the Panthers, and the Bears have their pick. And then the contenders: Patriots 1-5, Broncos 1-5, Giants 1-5, Bears 1-5, Cardinals 1-5. So those teams need to do whatever they can to lose. Cardinals have actually been really frisky for a 1-5 team. Like, it's funny how these teams got there has been quite different.
Yeah,
but we'll have lots of time this season to talk about that. I am fascinated for this Monday nighter tonight, guys. This is one of the neatest, most interesting matchups we've had all season long. Short spread, and like, what are we thinking the crowd's going to be tonight? 80-20 Cowboys?
Oh, yeah.
LA?
Probably close. I think probably close. You're right. That's true. 1.5. So this thing was 2 this morning. When we were looking at it this morning, it was at 2. It's at 1.5 right now. Patty, give us your what do you like tonight? Are you on? Do you love a side either way, or just looking at props?
I think I'll just be looking at props because I can't stomach ever, just putting money on either of these teams. Like, I feel like this is the gif of the kids sitting at the lunch table, all handing around, throwing around the water bottles. No, you take it, because I don't think either of these teams find ways to win, or they find ways to lose, I should say. I think you got to feel a little better with the Cowboys, just based upon, the history that we have with the Chargers. But with that being said, like, I don't know. I really don't know what to expect with this game. That being said, I think it could be one of the better Monday nighters because of the Jekyll and Hyde that we have with the coaches. The bonehead decisions that we'll probably see. The quarterbacks.
Speaking of coaches, which coach do you trust less tonight? Staley or Mike McCarthy?
It's Staley, but not by close.
I was going to say,
McCarthy.
I want to say McCarthy, but it is Staley. Like, you can't trust either of these guys. That's why it's going to be it's a train wreck. Like, there'll be tonight, I guarantee tonight on social media, somebody will be talking about something absolutely ridiculous that one of, if not both of these guys do.
Both of them are going to make a boneheaded decision at some point, and it's one is going to let the other coach off the hook, and we won't be talking about that dumb decision because it's not going to cost their team. And even I again, like I've said, I'm a big Herbert guy. He's susceptible to throwing a bad interception, or even just trying to. It's a gunslinger mentality, right? You're going to throw an interception. On the flip side, Dak Prescott truly addicted to throwing picks. I think a parlay for both QBs to throw an interception in the bet builder would be a play that I would be looking at. I've got my Griggy's prime time parlay. It's not up yet, but it will be. I already talked about the interception for Prescott, over 3.5 field goals. That's a no-brainer. And then Micah Parsons over 1 sack. I actually like the over on the sacks, over 4.5. It's minus 147, which I don't love. And I know you think like, when you think of the Cowboys, you think of that really good offensive line. They give up 2 sacks per game. I think the Chargers they're closer to 3, but the Chargers, their front pressure has been unbelievable this year. They're averaging the most sacked for all season, 4 per game. And we know, obviously, the Cowboys can dial it up as well. So over 4.5 sacks, I think, is my best bet, but I also have my parlay, and there's a few other player props that I like as well.
I'm taking the under here, 50.5.
It's pretty high.
Listen, I was surprised. And Dallas, Dallas does have a really good defense. I know that they, now have Diggs, and Vander Esch is now out, but I respect the Cowboys defense. And I do think that the combination of Mike McCarthy's play calling, the playmakers that the Chargers have, even though they're so bloody inconsistent, they'll make a few good plays and then leave a guy wide open for an 80-yard touchdown is an issue. But I just think this number is a little bit too high. So I'm in on the under right now. And I'll be honest, on the side, I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Yeah, me too. I'm on the Chargers here too.
I'm going with the Chargers. This is a huge home game for them. And listen, I think in a lot of ways, Dallas got broken by the San Francisco 49ers. I think that all of that hype, all the expectations has been, that was a real reality check for them. They're not in the league of the Chargers, or sorry, of the Niners. And this is the sort of team that, I think can come up big. And I believe in Justin Herbert. I mean, to me, Herbert is probably the best player on the field tonight if you take out Micah Parsons, at least on the offensive side of the football. They're getting Austin Eckler back. Listen, they're down Mike Williams, but Keenan Allen always, a consistent target. And Herbert, for his part, has been awesome this year. I mean, we remember the numbers we were throwing out for those first two games when they somehow finished 0-2, but it's on the defense. I think the defense plays better. I think that leans us to the under in the game tonight. But having to go between these two teams, I'm actually going to back the Chargers at home, and I'll take the 1.5.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the Chargers here as well, the 1.5. Like, look at the Dallas Cowboys here. They've got 3 wins. And in their 3 wins, they've won by a combined score of 108-13. So they've rolled in their wins. But they beat the Giants. Awful. They beat the Jets by 20. Jets are hanging around. Like the Jets, the Jets have had a decent amount of success this year.
That's the Dallas signature win of the season.
Yeah. And then they pump the Patriots. And the Patriots are an awful train wreck. Like, to me, Dallas hasn't beat anybody yet. And in those games, they beat up on some weaker clubs. But Herbert's been really good so far this year. Chargers defense can make plays. They get Eckler back. I think I'm with Huss on the Chargers in the under 50.5. And my favorite player prop is a plus 125 touchdown for Keenan Allen, which we made our cool bet hotline of the day earlier on today. I think Mr. Lean was on Keenan Allen over 83.5 receiving yards as well. But I really like Keenan Allen touchdown tonight at plus 125, even with Eckler back. And I think Josh Kelly's even like a minus 110 to get Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen's got 3 touchdowns so far this year. He's got over 40 targets in 4 games. Like, this is Herbert's by far go-to guy. And when you get in these tough spots tonight, and you might not see a lot of trips to the red zone for the Chargers tonight, when you do, who else are you going to throw the ball to except for Keenan Allen? So I really like Keenan Allen touchdown tonight. And the Chargers with the plus 1.5, I'll take that plus the under.
Have you seen any other of Keenan Allen's player props? It's pretty crazy just considering his player receptions. Plus money at 7.5. So obviously the book knows that that's a heavy target for Herbert, but I tend to agree with Williams out. I know Canadian Air Canada, Josh Palmer is back, but he's been banged up. How much is he going to be used? I kind of do like his over on his receptions at 3.5, but in terms of a red zone threat, Eckler at minus 161. Don't love that number. The fact that you're getting plus money on Keenan Allen, I really like that. From a flip side, on the Cowboys side, from a touchdown, what I would consider maybe Jake Ferguson. I know he's been kind of a sexy pick for a lot of people out there in the betting and fantasy community when it comes to tight ends, but at plus 275, I like that. I don't know if you guys heard, but whether I think it was Jerry Jones. Yeah, that's right. It was Jerry Jones after that terrible loss to the 49ers. They asked, about the defense and with the play of Prescott and, the fact that they weren't able to get CeeDee Lamb the ball. And he said, well, I'd like to see our tight ends get more involved. And is that not just Cowboys football? Like, feed the tight end, feed the tight end, feed the tight end. So I think they're trying to do the same thing here with Ferguson. So I like Ferguson at plus 275. He hurt me last time on the receptions, the last primetime game. So I'm going to stay away from that, but a little sprinkle for him to find the back of the end zone.
Hey, Dusty, just before I got to run here to get ready for WST, big show coming up, by the way. Dave Poulin returns. Lots of Jets to get to coming out of the weekend, and look ahead to the weekend for the Bombers. Of course, it's a primetime game. These two teams, plus 113 for the field goal prop today. So I think that tells you that it's maybe more likely. Often we'll see it at plus 125, plus 120. And I like that because that goes hand in hand with my under 50.5. We'll take the Chargers. And very quickly, focusing in on a few road teams tonight in the National Hockey League. Florida plus 142 in Jersey. They've had two pretty good games so far. They've got nothing to show for it. Jersey was so losing in a shootout to the Coyotes in their last game. Kind of thinking Florida comes in playing pretty desperate hockey. I don't mind them at plus 142 tonight. I'm going to jump on Detroit at minus 126 in Columbus, and the Calgary Flames at minus 122 in Washington. If you do want to put those together in a 3-spot parlay, plus 690 for Florida, Detroit, and Calgary. I am on that tonight. And of course, I'll focus in on Monday Night Football and the cool bet play of the day. Check the socials a little later on. And tomorrow we'll get back into it. A lot of hockey to talk about. A big game here in Winnipeg tomorrow night with LA and the Jets. And we look ahead to week 7 in the National Football League. Fellas, enjoy the game tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow in the Lock Shop.
See you later, buddy. That's us. Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up right away. We got the oil stream coming up right away here. We will also have the Fantasy Football 5. Just take a look at some starts and sits tonight. I know I've got some fancy questions that have trickled in to the inbox today as well. 780-218-9999. Patty, before I let you go, Austin Matthews over 2.5 goals plus 760 tonight. You already seeing a bunch of action on that? Is it 3 straight Hatties to get the season going?
I haven't dove into the numbers, but I certainly can assure you that people are definitely going to at least sprinkle a little bit. The fact that that number for a hat trick is that low is pretty ridiculous when you look at. I'm actually going to the game tonight. A buddy of mine, he's a huge Blackhawks fan, so anytime he's in, the Blackhawks are in town, we go to the game.
Rolls in, right?
I'll say this. I'm blessed. My family does have season tickets. So myself, my cousins, and aunts and uncles get to split the season. So I go to a ton of games each and every year. But over my Leaf fandom career, I have seen the first games for Alex Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, and now Connor Bedard. So I'm pretty lucky. And the fact that I got these tickets again, I'm pretty fired up. But to go back from a betting perspective, plus 122 for Matthews not to score a goal tonight is absolutely ridiculous. Cool bet right now, from what I've seen, the rest of the market, for him to score a goal at minus 163, that's by far the best price that I've seen so far. I've seen minus 200s at some places, minus 185s. So that's a really good number. Are you going to just lay the juice and take a minus 163? Probably not. But if you're building a bet builder, or even just building a goal score parlay or whatever it may be, that's certainly something you should look at. I'm going to have a same game parlay for this. It will be out on our Cool Bet socials. But my best bet for that one, I absolutely love Bedard over. That line's already moved. Over 3.5 at minus 167. I got to move quicker on that, man.
You got to hop on this. We've learned that a lot, man. The lines are moving fast over at Cool Bet. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of the Lock Shop. Patty, good catching up with you, man. We'll talk again later in the week.
All right, take care.
All right, let's go. Time for another Fantasy Football 5 brought to you by our great partners at Century Casino on Fort Road. If you've not yet joined Lieutenant Eric for Monday or Thursday night, make plans to do it. It's pretty easy. Just hop on the Henday from wherever you're at, whip around, go down Manning, boom, you're there. Not going to take too long to get there. You can slide on in. Loaded burgers tonight. Thursday, I got those cheesesteaks for you as well. Place, I have a wager or two on the off-track betting there. And get into the football game tonight and every Monday and Thursday night with Lieutenant Eric at Century Casino on Fort Road. I got a couple of text messages that we'll get to, 780-218-9999. And yes, we will dive into any nasty chats that come in here as well. Have we got a text yet from Tommy? Is he coming in hot? I haven't heard about it coming in hot here at all.
We haven't heard from him at all.
I feel like he must be connected from home today. Or else we would have got he's coming hot. We'll have to
Well, I
find
think
out.
he's got to tell us that he's at home today, too.
Well, that's true. I mean, we probably
Practice
should have
was
heard
at
from Tommy
10.
some point. Practice was at 10. Could have done a rink report. Probably should have been up by now. And where is this guy? I'm waiting for it coming in hot, but we don't even have it coming in hot yet. But lots to talk about in the oil stream today. So that should be fun. Let's get to this text, 780-218-9999.
I don't know if you mentioned new lines.
Yeah, new lines.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've been teasing that up. I can't wait. We're going to do 60 minutes on the new lines. It's going to be great. By the way, because Maddie's here, Maddie, congratulations on beating me in fantasy football this week.
It's not over yet.
I know it's gone the other way quite a bit, but
we still
it's
have.
over?
We still have. Well, you have a couple players. I have a couple players. So
I got
we'll,
CeeDee Lamb tonight.
And I got Keenan Allen. So we'll see. Maybe a couple fumbles by
I just have
Keenan
CeeDee
Allen.
Lamb?
I don't know.
I feel like I got somebody else, too.
It's never over till it's over.
Yeah, no, it's over.
And,
this one's done. Congratulations on the win. It's gone the other way
Thank you.
in a few years with our matchups. And this year, Maddie got the best of me. I think that's a team that's about ready to blow up. I just drafted Bijan Robinson, so I'm kind of in rebuild mode, I guess. Well, I think Tommy's here.
Hey, Tommy.
Oh, maybe not. That doesn't matter. We'll make something work. Hey, boys, Amon St. Brown or Calvin Ridley? Ridley's been a letdown so far. I would agree with you. Ridley has been a letdown so far. Well, not letdown. He hasn't, like Christian Kirk's still a thing there. So that's probably a little bit frustrating for a lot of people. I don't think this isn't even worth. Don't even think about this. I mean, I don't know if you're talking about you have them both and you want to start one or the other, or you have Calvin Ridley and somebody's offering you Amon St. Brown for him. No matter what that conversation is, no matter what that discussion is, Amon St. Brown will be the answer. Calvin Ridley had that great first game. You're like, boom, this is what. And I have a Trevor Lawrence. I almost said Justin Lawrence. Anybody else here confusing centers in the Canadian Football League with the quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars? Trevor Lawrence and a Calvin Ridley stack in my big boy league. And I've got a lot of other really good receivers in that league, so it's going okay. But it's not what I thought it was. I thought it was going to absolutely blow up this year. Hasn't happened just yet. So Amon St. Brown would be the answer there. As for your starts and sits tonight in this Monday Nighter, I mean, this would mostly be from a daily fantasy perspective. Outside of that, I don't think many of you, who would you still have to slide in here? But love Tony Pollard tonight. I always love CeeDee Lamb, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert for sure. Dak, I'm kind of meh on right now. Austin Eckler's back. Are they going to ramp him up? Austin Eckler will be a busy boy tonight. Austin Eckler will be a busy boy. I don't want to see any text messages about, I'm worried about, like you saw it with Saquon, right? You saw it with Saquon late last week. Dusty, are we worried about Saquon? I'm not. I was a little worried about Saquon and the workload for him. I would assume they just ramp things right back up with Mr. Fantasy Football Austin Eckler. That's probably something that you're not going to have to worry about. So be very excited. I've got Austin Eckler starting, and I've actually managed to survive okay in this league. Wait a sec here. Is this a text from Tommy? Nope. Lock shop text. Let me see. This is my big boy league, and actually, let's take a look at this. I'm projected to have 99, and the guy who's 5-0 is projected to have 106. So I am up right now. I'm up by 14 points. I've got Eckler. It's not going to happen. I've got Eckler. He's got Keenan Allen, Tony Pollard, and the Dallas D. So he should end up beating me tonight, unless Eckler has a huge night. And in that league, I would go to 3-3, and he would go to 6-0. But I actually like that team. So I had Austin Eckler. He was obviously been on the IR for the last few weeks. I had A-Chain. Now he's on the IR. And David Montgomery, only 14 yards yesterday because he got hurt in that Detroit game. So I might all of a sudden be in the market for a running back, but my receivers are pretty good in this league. Calvin Ridley, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, Jordan Addison, DeAndre Hopkins, even though we only had one catch for 20 yards this week. But yeah, I have Trevor Lawrence in that league and CJ Stroud on the bench, which I might be able to mix in here at some point. 780-218-9999. Remember, every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all week long at this time, if you have fantasy questions, this would be the time to get them in on the Fantasy Football 5. We'll attack the waiver wire. When you join me tomorrow at this time, we'll get into that waiver wire for another upcoming week, and there will be some big waiver wire claims this week with some of the injuries that we saw over the weekend. So very much looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to the oil stream that is coming up here at Edmonton Sports Talk. Jay Woodcroft, 2 games into the season, has now, at least in practice today, reunited Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. I got a few thoughts on this. I was fired up after the first game of the season. Now we're sitting here after 2 games, and Fogel's getting bumped up. What is happening? That's going to be fun. We're going to get into that coming up, but that'll do it for the Fantasy Football 5, brought to you by great partners, the Century Casino on Fort Road, the Sports Bar and Lounge. Join Eric tonight for Monday Night Football. Oil Stream coming up here at edmontonsportstalk.com.